It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Joe DiBiase of the Locked On Sabres podcast. ButcherBox has all you need for a tasty, stress-free holiday season with high-quality protein delivered to your door. Sometimes the best gifts are the ones you give yourself, and ButcherBox is here to help you treat yourself to more delicious, wholesome meals. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL to get free chicken wings for a year. That's 3 pounds of free-range organic chicken wings free in every order for a year when you sign up at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL.
And now a word from our sponsor, Robinhood. If you're listening to this pod, you probably already know how to make your money do more. You've got at least one retirement fund, maybe some investments in the mix. But what about your idle cash? If you're still earning a low rate, that cash could be making you more with Robinhood Gold. You can earn up to 5% APY, which is 8 times the national savings rate from most banks, which means that uninvested $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 just sitting in your account could be making money that makes more money. What's more, that money stays protected for up to $2.25 million in FDIC insurance through our partner banks. Make your money do the most for just $5 a month with Robinhood Gold. Get 30 days free when you sign up at robinhood.com/goldpodcast. As of 9/21/23 via Bankrate, interest is earned on idle cash swept from your brokerage account to program banks. Cash sweep program and gold are offered through Robinhood Financial LLC. Terms apply. Rate may change. Robinhood is not a bank.
Another busy Monday of fantasy hockey news means you are tuned in to your source for all of it. The Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Waiver-Wire Special, all of Steele and I's favorite targets, and of course, Dougie Hamilton injury update. Lots to get to. Monday's betting board. Welcome back. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fantasy fanatics, hockey heads, and degenerate gamblers. Welcome back inside the lab to your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Make sure you download the Sleeper app. Get it today. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download it today for a discount and get $20 off your first purchase. Make sure you check out that Sleeper app. Steele. Butchered that title read a little bit, pal, but that's okay because we're back, baby. Mondays are so important around here. Like, I hope our fans, our listeners that tune in can see how important it is for us. By the way, things have turned around a little bit for me in the listener leagues the last couple of days. We're not going to talk about that, but it's been a fun few days of hockey. And Dougie Hamilton's injury, we're going to talk about it, but it's Monday. So top waiver wire targets for the upcoming week. You and I look at it with a bunch of different lenses. That's important for making sure your squad is at tip-top shape. Monday, big-time betting board. Of course, I believe, Steele, there's 6 games. You and I got to keep this money rolling because Christmas, Hanukkah, it's the holiday season. Things are cheap. That's why we're trying to make this money. Dougie Hamilton, though. This New Jersey Devils team, Steele, before I turn it over to you, they've been dealing with a bunch of very significant injuries, and I think I just wanted to start this conversation by saying I think the fact that they are still sitting where they are in that Metro division is quite impressive given the fact that Heischer, Hughes, and others have now been down with injuries. That I know they're 23 points, but they're only 6 points back a second. What do you think about this whole situation? What's your take on Dougie?
Yeah, for all GMs out there. Man, this mute button's getting me almost every single episode. Yeah, you're tripped up. That's now. Okay. I'm getting tripped up with the mute button, but it's a huge loss for fantasy GMs out there who own Dougie Hamilton out indefinitely with a pectoral tear on the left side of his chest. And Dougie Hamilton is obviously a huge part of any team out there and obviously a huge part to the success of the New Jersey Devils. So it's going to be a tough loss because we don't know how long he's actually going to be out for.
Yeah, it says indefinitely. And that timetable, the pectoral is also a tough one to come back from.
It is a tough one. I remember when I was playing hockey in high school, I actually tore all the ligaments in my pec going into my shoulder. I was out for 2.5, 3 months. So it's a tough one to come back from. Like, I didn't have to have any surgery or anything.
I love the personal Steele stories. I love the Warrior stories, Steele. I love these. But for real, it's a tough one to come back.
Junior varsity hockey team was where it was at for me in high school.
My man.
But yeah, so obviously coming with a serious injury to that, we don't know what the timetable is. He's out indefinitely. Right now, I'm personally hurting in one of my fantasy leagues because I both have Shea Theodore and Dougie Hamilton now on the IR. So it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for me in the next couple of weeks.
What's interesting here, Steele, is, and again, I just to go back to my initial point very quickly, the fact that the Devils are still hanging around, that's my first takeaway. And look, 11, 10, and 1, sure, it doesn't jump off the page, but these are very critical injuries. Dougie Hamilton has been a very solid fantasy and just all-around defenseman over the last couple of seasons. 74 points last year, Steele, from a blue liner. There's not many guys in the league that put up 70-plus points. That's number one. Number two is Simon Nemec, right? We got to talk about this because this kid's going to get a look. And I just wanted to bring up 2 goals, 6 assists in 13 games with the Utica Comets in the AHL this year. Was he a second overall pick? This is where you have to, as a fantasy GM, take a look. Of course, Dougie Hamilton is out. You're going to have to scramble. I hope we have a couple of blue liners we can look at. You mentioned Owen Power earlier in the week, perhaps. This is, though, you're going to have to scramble, right? Dougie is a solid piece of fantasy muscle. What's he got this year, Steele? 5 goals, 11 assists, 20 penalty minutes, 61 shots on net. He does a little bit of everything. Aside from this obviously impacting the Devils in that metro, and they are where they are. Somebody out there that was probably in striking distance of being a good top team in their league is going to have to deal with this. Look at you. Now you have a couple of blue liners on IR. This is going to get tricky. Nosek also out for the New Jersey Devils. They've been banged up, but I think I'm very intrigued at this Simon Nemec opportunity.
Yeah, and even with Luke Hughes as well, going to get some opportunity. Even more so than Nemec, but both of those young defensemen who the Devils have a lot of faith in on the back end, maybe can do something on the offensive side, do some good things on the power play. While Dougie Hamilton recovers from
opportunities
this injury. So there's opportunity on the blue line for those young defensemen on the New Jersey Devils. And maybe we should talk about some of the waiver wire targets who you could possibly fill for those spots and those injuries that we've talked about. I have a couple of honorable mentions and then my top 3. I just want to list these 2 guys off very quickly. I believe you actually have one of them on your waiver wire target as well. First one, real quick, I got to mention Anders Lee because I've given him some tough love over the last couple of weeks. Rostered at 23%, but it seems like he's getting back into it. He's got 5 points in his last 6 games. Obviously, he still brings the peripherals, 48 shots, 32 hits, 20 blocks. So he's been great the last 6 games. He's getting points, and he's doing it up front for the New York Islanders. This one I believe you have on your list, Jake Neighbors of the St. Louis Blues. 9 goals, 10 points in 23 games. Started off very slow for the season, only 2 points in 15 games. But has 8 points in his last 8 games. He has some significant peripherals as well, 36 shots, 37 hits, 21 blocks. And this is what I know you'll love too. He went from playing on the third line, playing 12 and a half minutes on average, to now being on the top line, the top power play unit, playing over 17 minutes on average the last 7 games. So you got to take a look at Jake Neighbors because he's scoring goals right now at a high rate.
Playing on the top line. I'm pretty sure he's on that. Is it Robert Thomas and Cairo?
Yes.
He's on that top line.
Thomas and Shen, I believe.
It's a trio.
It's
one of those. And the other thing, just to close our point on the Dougie Hamilton situation, Mikey Anderson. I know it's an underrated name. Steele. You're gonna have to get gritty. Simon Nemec. There you go. Tony DeAngelo, perhaps. Like, it's not going to be pretty, especially when it comes to blue liners. But let's close the case on that bad boy. Jake Neighbors, you covered it for me. I like the motor. Also, when these things happen in the NHL, look, I don't know if you saw the highlight of him. He had his dad on. They were interviewing him, and he scored a big goal. I absolutely love that. They asked the dad for the play-by-play analysis. If you haven't seen it, look that one up. Jake Neighbors, when there's that kind of energy going as well, really good skater, high motor, love the energy. It's the kind of kid at 21 years old, you kind of love to see him succeed. He's on the list, Steele. Another honorable mention, I think it's kind of obvious. Everyone's talking about him, Patty Kane. He's going to be on the waiver wire targets for a lot of people. I didn't even want to add it to the list of players we're actually talking about because it's quite clear, depending on the makeup of your team, depending on the makeup of your league. He is a must-add. until we see how he shakes out. He's just that good. Also, Connor Ingram. He was on the list, and I know you're going to talk about him, so I'll just very quickly say at 10-3-1, and he's on my list, big-time steal, 240 goals against, and a 925 save percentage. I believe he started the last 5 or 6 of the Coyotes games. He's the number one goaltender right now, and that's when you have to really pay attention because number one goaltenders are not out there that available. And I know we can say number one goaltender, Arizona Coyotes are a lot better. It really doesn't matter if this guy's getting the run out. He's fantasy relevant, Steele. And I think I just wanted to bring up this graphic once again because, not that one, hold on one sec. They play this week the Bruins and the Flyers. So it's only 2 games, and those are very tough opponents, even this year, the Flyers. So maybe it's not this
3
week,
games, 3 games.
Do they play 3?
Yeah, Washington on Monday.
Okay, so giddy up. There you go. Connor Ingram, worth a look. Just had to highlight it. Should we go to break, or you want to hit me with your take on that quick?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Connor Ingram very, very soon.
Love it.
I'll get to him after the break and after you talk about one of your waiver wire targets as well.
Thank you very much, good sir. Thank you all for joining us. You know today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. A player on your favorite team could pop 50. Your favorite team could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is Steele and I's number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially, of course, daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Connor McDavid, Ovi, Crosby, McKinnon will record more or less than the Sleeper predictions for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and anything in a given game. Make sure you use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. The code is LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast to draw your attention to the taste that's going down in the bread aisle. All thanks to Dave's Killer Bread, bread amplified. Anyone can bake bread, few can rock it, and Dave's Killer Bread is the champion of killer taste, killer texture, and is for those who want to rise above the boring. Organic and healthy doesn't have to mean boring when it's made with the highest quality organic and non-GMO ingredients, packed with whole grains, fiber, and protein. 21 whole grains and seeds bread has a subtle sweetness and a seed-coated crust, while good seed products are the boldest and sweetest of all. Dave's Killer Bread was built on the belief that second chances can change lives, because after spending 15 years in prison, not only did the guy with the guitar you see on every loaf turn his own life around, he's helping others to do the same. By hiring the best people for the job, regardless of their background, he's ensuring your mornings no longer taste like cardboard, your taste buds don't have to feel sedated, and your sandwiches can become superstars. Visit daveskillerbread.com to learn more and look for Dave's Killer Bread in the bread aisle of your favorite grocery store.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast your first listen every single day. Big news from Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, making it your first listen. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, and a 5-star review. I'm going to throw it over to Flip now because I want to hear some of his waiver wire targets and who he's looking at before I get to a few of mine.
There is one of those, Patrick Laine-Steele is one of those players that given when he can shoot the puck and he's feeling it, you can't help but deny. Like the other night, he's wristing the puck. I swear his wrist shot is faster than a lot of players out there slap shot. I'm feeling what I'm seeing from Patrick Laine. He's just that kind of risky piece that now at this point in his career, Steele, he's a week-to-week flyer in a lot of leagues. Sure.
Yeah. In
some, he might not be. You know, in a lot deeper leagues, you're probably hanging on to Laine just because of what he can do when he's healthy. But he's starting to score. And he's up to 5 goals. He's got goals in back-to-back games, points in 3 straight. Now I'm starting to have a look at him because he's also, we know this guy is all confidence. And right now he's looking like he has some confidence. And the other thing too, with Columbus this week, I believe they have 4 games. Kings, Islanders, Blues, and Panthers. Bit of a mixed bag of opponents there. But Columbus, say what you will about them, At certain nights, they look absolute like dog water. They look do. And then other nights, they can put up a bunch of goals. They have some really good young pieces. Patrick Laine right now, Steele, for me, if I was trying to slot in a winger and looking for an offensive bump this week, Patrick Laine with 4 games, 52% on Yahoo, 63 on ESPN. I really do feel he's that kind of streaky week-to-week player right now. That is worth a look, and you jump on him while he's starting to heat up.
I've been holding on to him for a couple of weeks now. I haven't yet dropped him at all this entire season. Again, it's one of those situations where I'm too afraid to drop him because I know what he is capable of when he's healthy and he's at his best. He's that
guy you drop and he goes off always.
Exactly. That's just my luck. That's how it always pans out for me. So I refuse to drop Patrick Laine, even though he's been pretty bad this season. But I do agree with you. He is one of those flyers that you could pick up, and probably once you know that he gets to feel in himself, he gets his confidence back, then you know what he's capable of, and you just continue to keep him. I want to talk about this player, someone that you've been involved with this entire season as well. Michael Carcone of the Arizona Coyotes. He is available almost in every single league. He's rostered at 1% on 100%. Yahoo Sports right now, playing just over 11 minutes of average ice time this season, yet he is producing offensively. He's got 11 goals, 14 points total, shooting at 33.3% right now for the Arizona Coyotes. He's got a 3-game goal streak, 6 points in his last 5 games. He's feeling himself offensively. He's getting it done. He's got a really underrated quick wrist shot as well. 3 games this upcoming week for the Arizona Coyotes, Washington Capitals on Monday, Philadelphia Flyers, and Boston Bruins later in the week. But Michael Carcone has been doing it offensively alongside with a lot of their guys in the top 6. So even though he's playing in the bottom 6, he's getting it done.
Yeah, and hey, I believe he's actually getting deployed a little bit. He's in the mix right now. Of course, he's on that third line. If he continues to score, Steele, he's a piece of a team too that's on the rise. And look, you like I say all the time, we make a ton of predictions. One that actually has panned out for me personally, 4-game win streak for these Arizona Coyotes. Carcone doesn't bring a ton of peripheral value, but right now he's also feeling it. Week to week, I love this angle. 4-game win streak for the Coyotes. Jump on it now while he's hot. I jumped on him a couple of weeks ago in the Keeper Dynasty side of things as a free agent pickup, and he's been solid over the last couple of weeks, chipping in with the goals. That's what you're doing. That's what you're looking at for this player. Will it last? I don't know, but that's not what it's about right now, is it, Steele? This is Michael Carcone. We're looking at him week to week. Right now, it's a good look. One more player. Wait, how many players do I have left here? Let me get this straight here. Thank you. One more left. Anthony Beauvillier. For some reason, I feel like I've spoken way too much about this player, and I think it's because me personally, I sometimes get invested in these guys, Steele. But hey, hold me down. I sent you the screenshot of my entire keeper squad. I think we do a really good job of standing by the players we talk up. Most of my entire roster you saw earlier are guys that I've said at length. So in this situation with Anthony Beauvillier, and I'm this close to giving up, because if he can't get it done on the Vancouver Canucks, a team that's clearly much improved and has a lot of offensive depth, and now he's going to get a look playing with Connor Bedard, which he is. If he can't get it done now, then you won't hear me speak about him ever again. But here we go one more time. On the top line with Philip Kurashev and Connor Bedard, Steele, these are spots you can't ignore. Also, I believe, pulling up the graphic again, my graphic is my friend, 6% on Yahoo, 2% on ESPN. Right now, why not? If you need a left winger, if you're taking a shot, have a look. I believe, let me pull this up. Here we go. 4 games this week, Steele, and this is the best part for Anthony Beauvillier. Predators, Ducks, Blues, and Capitals this week. If he's going to fit in at any time, it will be now playing with Bedard against those 4 teams, which all 4, Steele, allow a lot of goals.
Yeah, I think this has to be the last week. I'm not going to let you continue going with Anthony Beauvillier if he doesn't start producing, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. He's got an advantageous
I'm on thin ice here.
You're on thin ice because Anthony Beauvillier just has not been producing this season. But let's see what he does this upcoming week with 4 games on the schedule. I've got 2 players remaining for waiver-wire targets. This one real quick. We've already mentioned him a couple of times. Connor Ingram has been playing phenomenal for the Arizona Coyotes. I am cheating a little bit because he is currently owned at 52% on Yahoo. but that's up 27% from last week. So he was below 25% just 7 days ago. But the way he's been playing, his value is going to continue to skyrocket. He's 10-3-0 on the season, 925 save percentage, 2.40 goals against average, and 1 shutout. He'll most likely be getting 2 starts this upcoming week with 3 games on the schedule. And it's been very surprising because we talked a lot about Karel Vejmelka last year and his play, but he's been very, very poor for the Arizona Coyotes. I believe he's 2-6-2 on the season, and that's why they're continuing to run with Ingram.
Surprising.
Very surprising, and that's why they're running with Ingram, who's won his last 4 starts, and the Arizona Coyotes are have that first wild card spot as of right now. Final player before we get over to big time bets. I've talked about him a lot. This is where Flip continues to go back saying we stand our ground on this podcast. Jake Wallman is so underrated, and it concerns me that his value and his percentage of ownership on Yahoo is so low. 28% owned on Yahoo compared to, what did you say? 80%? 83% owned on ESPN. It's actually
doesn't make sense.
It's mind-boggling to see that. But he's unreal. 5 goals, 12 points in 21 games. He's on pace for 48 points, which is a career high by a mile. 39 shots, 63 blocks, 18 penalty minutes, 5 special team points, and 2 game-winning goals. He's doing it all alongside Mo Seider right now for the Detroit Red Wings. He's been a great pairing, a great addition over the last 2 seasons. And how can you not love this man, especially after scoring the game winner against the Montreal Canadiens and hitting the walk-off gritty, which he's done a few times for a celebration. It's absolutely beautiful to watch this guy play. And, he missed a couple of games due to illness, but he gets right back into the lineup and starts helping on both ends of the ice. 3 games this week, very advantageous schedule for the Detroit Red Wings, Buffalo Sabres, San Jose Sharks, and the Ottawa Senators. So if you're on a Yahoo league and Jake Wallman's available, I urge you, I plead, please go pick up Jake Wallman.
Good Toronto boy. Also, Steele, you want to get a piece of what's going on in Detroit right now.
Yes.
The vibes are very real. Patty Kane coming in there is one thing, but they were already winning games, getting dubs lately over teams like the Devils and the Bruins. So there is a lot to like of what's going on in Detroit now. Can they get, and I know like Lyon, Reimer, Husso, it's been a very interesting trio. Someone's got to take the reins, and I really don't think it matters. Obviously, Husso would be the one for fantasy GMs that they want to see. Stevie Y doesn't give a rat's bum who takes the reins in net, but they're going to need a goaltender to hold it down because I think everything else is in the mix right now. Also, I didn't really want to touch on this because it is such a sad story. I just want to give shout out, not like Dylan Larkin listens to our podcast. Shout out to these hockey players, to these people in life, Steele, that have to deal with these heartbreaking, gut-wrenching situations. And he has to come back and talk to the media. Imagine. Shout out to Dylan Larkin, shout out to his family, and shout out to anyone who's ever had to go through that kind of heartbreaking situation. Seriously, kudos and much love, because that's just one of those heartbreakers, Steele. But let's end the show on a little bit more of an upbeat note before I shed a few tears here over our big-time Monday bets.
And we're going to try to help everyone out there, especially over this holiday season, make a little bit of extra money for those Christmas presents. We'll get to big-time bets very, very soon. But this episode is also brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor the job. With Instant Match, you can start hiring fast. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application, pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey everyone, Chris from Locked On Avalanche here. If you like using debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases, which means you can get cash back on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, leave a follow, and a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day, sure. Monday through Friday. Flip, boom. It's been a rough go for me on big time bets. Yep. I'm going to turn it over to you because I need some mentorship. I need some guidance. Okay. Where do I go? I've got 3 picks, and I do feel pretty hot about them. Okay. But it's been a rough weekend on the betting board.
It's a tricky board, honestly. Monday night is a tricky board. Look, you and I have had overall a pretty good ride to start the season. Coming in hot off of Sundays too, though, after the NFL board. Always usually rattles my cage in terms of what I'm doing. But let me just lay it down for you quick here, Steele, because lately I've been doing a bit of a mix of things. And holler at us how you want to see us break down this betting segment, because Steele and I have some ideas. We might start mixing things up. But anyway, I just have 3 money line bets. Yep. The Dallas Stars just laid a serious beating on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I mean like season-concerning beatdown. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in trouble, Steele. And I know Andre Vasilevsky is just coming back after serious back surgery. But take a look at that Atlantic. We don't need to get into that conversation. And Tampa needs to wake up in a hurry. Usually coming off of these kinds of situations, big embarrassing wins or losses for Tampa, I would actually back the team to bounce back. But this team is reeling right now. And when I looked at their last 3 losses, and that's what I want to bring up quickly, Tampa Bay, their last 4 losses. Colorado 4-1. Arizona 3-1. Pittsburgh 4-2, which it should have been 4-1. And Dallas 8-1. These are demoralizing losses. And I'm just going to spit this out quickly because I'm going to hit you with all 3 right away if that's okay. I'm going Dallas on the money line, Steele. I'm just not buying into Tampa right now, even though Tampa is a good home team. Lock of the night for me, I'll get to in a sec. The Pittsburgh Penguins in their last 10 against Philly. 7-2-1. Pittsburgh is a team that I'm really having a tough time putting a finger on. They look really good 1 minute, and then they look really bad the next. Philly isn't there yet, so I'm going to go with their track record. I'm going to go with the team that I think is better overall. That's the second pick. And lastly, Steele, again, I'll reiterate that this was a tough board for me. Carolina flexed their muscle 6-2 against Buffalo on Saturday night. Sebastian Aho makes that team click, and he is clicking. By the way, I had Sebastian Aho and Vincent Trocheck on the bench on Saturday. That was 3 goals and 4 assists. So I'm going to just puke in a bucket. Anyhow, let me ride with that angle as well. Carolina on the money line is my lock of the night. Pittsburgh money line and Dallas money line. 3 money line bets, Deal. Very sweet and simple.
Very rare for us to have 3 money line bets as well. I love the lock of the night. I had to stay away from the other 2, though. I understand Tampa Bay is reeling a little bit. Tampa Bay is such a good home team, but after getting that beat down, I just couldn't pick a winner in that matchup. And then same thing for your same sort of belief for your Pittsburgh, your second pick, Pittsburgh money line. Really? I believe the Philadelphia Flyers at home. I don't really buy into the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. Are the Flyers at home?
Flyers are at home. They're 5-6-1 this season at home.
They've been a lot better than we've thought this season. So it's a weird Monday betting board, but I found 3 picks that really stood out to me. But I do like your lock of the night a lot. First pick of the night, Coyotes Capitals under 6.5 in this matchup. 9 out of the last 10 have gone under the number. I believe the last 7 have actually gone under the number in these matchups. So that's the first pick of the night, under 6.5 in that Capitals Coyotes game. And then I'm going to 2 player props here. Jack Eichel, we have not talked about him enough. At least I haven't talked about him enough. And that's probably because I probably haven't talked about him because I wasn't able to actually draft him for any of my fantasy teams. I've tried trading for him. No resolutions there. I haven't been able to acquire him, but I got to talk about Jack Eichel now. The kid is unbelievable. He's top 15 in points this season, has 27 points on the year, 10 goals, 17 assists. Yep. I'm going with Jack Eichel anytime assist on Monday night game. And then for my lock of the night, it's my boy. It's also your boy too. Joe Pavelski, anytime assist, leads the team with 24 points. He's on a 9-game point streak with 12 points in those 9 games. He's feeling it offensively. Huge game, obviously, against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'm feeling it again. 2 player props, both anytime assist. Pavelski, anytime assist is my lock of the night.
Love it, Steele. Don't get me down the old Joey Pavelski train. Let's have a positive Monday. Let's have a big week, everybody. Make sure you're tapped into the pod all week long. Make sure you let us know what you want to see. We got some special guests on the way. Steele and I are always in the lab cooking up new segments. Let us know what you need to see on this show, and much love to everyone for holding us down.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Again, big news from Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24 streaming channel. And thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
How can BP cut carbon emissions in a natural gas field? Invest $10 billion and run it on electricity. That's BP's formula to modernize our oil and gas business in the Permian Basin. Just 4% of our wells there were electrified in 2018. We aim to hit 95% this year. See how else BP is investing in America at bp.com/investing in America. That's bp.com/investing in America.
The Monday edition of Locked On NHL is a must-listen. Every Monday on Locked On NHL, host Gil Martin takes you to the 3 biggest NHL stories from the weekend's games with the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. No national fluff. You get the real story from the Locked On experts who are with the team every day. Put it on your calendar every Monday on Locked On NHL. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.